it's kind of a strange thing for people in my generation and younger to think about war as we approach ANZAC Day. Uh, People who have been brought up in Australia, who born since the 60s, haven't really experienced much of anything to do with war. And so we don't really understand the kinds of sacrifices that are involved. And while there are some people who no doubt have come to this country out of war-torn situations, for most part, most of us, we don't know much about that. And so it's interesting to ponder the kind of sacrifice that was involved in the Anzacs going off to a theatre of war that was a long way away from home. They did so because of a story that they were told, a true story theoretically, that there was a great evil that was threatening to take over the world and they needed to stand against it. And so they did. And they did so at great cost. So they knew that it was dangerous. They knew that they were giving themselves to this much greater cause. And so we get this notion of sacrifice. And it's really interesting to think about sacrifice at this time of year as we remember ANZAC, because once upon a time, of course, sacrifice meant taking somebody else's life to offer the sacrifice to appease the gods so that your own life or the life of your community might be saved. So it was a taking of a life, an arbitrary, random taking of somebody else's life. But we have this inflection in the meaning of sacrifice since the time of Jesus because, of course, he came and didn't take somebody else's life, but gave his own life. And this really did a polar reverse of what the meaning of sacrifice was all about. Rather than offering someone else to save yourself, Jesus offered himself to save others. And this has come to be known as the highest form of sacrifice because, we don't get particularly proud about taking somebody else's life to look after ourselves. There's nothing particularly praiseworthy about that, really. But when people give themselves to save others, we know that's good. And this time of year, as we remember the Anzacs, we think of people who gave themselves to save their communities and their nation. And this is something that we do well to think about and to understand as deeply as we can, because even in the normal day-to-day as we experience it, not in a war situation, there is still great richness, I suppose is the word I'm looking for, in learning how to give yourself to and for others in a way that brings them life. When we do that, we very rarely regret it. It brings life to others, and we kind of bask in the goodness of that. And to be part of that is a very good thing. So I want to encourage you to think about sacrifice at this time as the country remembers our Anzacs. How do you engage in sacrifice? Are you taking someone else's life to try and save your own? Or are you willing to go and give your life to enrich others? It's a much better way to do it. God bless. See you around the college.